Okay.
Oh, there she is.
You couldn't hear me?
Yeah. Right. Well, we're staying with the strata material, which is this. And so do we do it now, Mary? You put diagram up on the screen?
I think I can do that but I don't think we should leave it up the whole time and not see you at all, but I'll find it. Why don't you talk for now and I'll find it because it's a bit small in the newsletter.
Okay, these are, we call it the strata material. It's 7 areas of life. It is very comprehensive. It's in some ways, it's simple and it's a toolbox that all the other tools fit into, but in another way, it is ambitious because, you know, what we say is that the Pellin tools are precise. There's a way where any tools are precise if we're practiced with them. Of course, we can, you know, we can make mistakes with tools. So I guess you can make mistakes with these tools. But at their best, they're precise. And the strata material covers everything from our values in the world we're born into, with all its opportunities or constraints, in terms of race, religion, sex, money, opportunity. That's social strata. The next one, if you remember, is communication strata. What's it like if I put it like that? What's that? Oh, you've got it up, Mary. Okay. Yeah, the next one across is communication strata. Communication strata is how well we connect with people by communicating. Do we know what we want to communicate? Do we have a sense where it's coming from? Are we effective in how we communicate? And as is our communication received? Just go back social strata. Within social strata, there's memory links because it goes back just on one simple level on our parents' values and place in the world and what we did with that. That's social strata. And the memory links in social strata. Communication strata is all our material on listening. Emotional strata is the pendulum and memory links again. Emotional strata is all the stuff of therapy. So in a sense, therapy lives in emotional strata. And in that sense, we're saying it's the 7th of life, okay, in some rough sense. We are not saying it is everything. And emotional strata is where the issues in our past cripple us or nourish us, to put it simply. The next one, the thick middle one in that diagram, is evaluation strata. And evaluation strata is making decisions and assessments and setting goals. In a sense, the other 6 strata all feed into evaluation strata. Evaluation strata has advisors in it. and also purpose, and also the material around hurt, because in evaluation strata, we are saying that we are evaluating in terms of both hurt and purpose. Accomplishment strata is reaching the goals that we've set for ourselves in evaluation strata. It is whether we're good at getting things done. And in that way, it's fairly simple. Do we get things done or don't we get things done? The next one across is perseverance strata. And perseverance strata is about courage and true grit, how we handle adversity, how we handle failure, how we handle rejection, and I guess how we handle catastrophe. And I've never said that before, but this is where the strata material does have a broad reach, because all of a sudden this rather sleepy Pellin tool, if I can say that, has an enormous relevance with the COVID crisis. How do we handle that adversity? Individually, as a family, as a community, as a nation. It's a particular, I think, example of the ambitious reach of the strata material sort of works. Because then the strata material would have a great deal to say, and we might get at it in this session, about handling COVID. And the next one is awareness strata, and awareness strata is, I think, by its nature, not so straightforwardly defined. I like to talk about awareness strata as not for everyone, but in its nature, and for many people as something of a mystery, and certainly some of the mysteries of life, our relationship with God, our relationship to fate, our relationship to a higher power, our relationship to a world outside ourselves, a world beyond when we die, or in terms of my particular awareness strata, which is absolutely based in human beings and our journey, including going back to the beginnings of, 30, 50, 100,000 years ago. And I think there is necessary, someone whose awareness strata is in a love of nature. There's a mystery in that, just the same as someone whose awareness strata is their relationship to God. There's a mystery in that. So I guess we could say about the strata, not only are they very precise, but they're probably all defined in a slightly different way. Because there's really not much mystery about communication strata. I mean, you can make one up, that's for sure, and delve into what Shakespeare could do with 8 simple words. To be or not to be, that is the question. But in the main, communication strata is really straightforward. Even he's straightforward in that speech. Bit of writing. Yeah, awareness strata has mystery in it. And I think we don't get it if we don't understand that. What, of course, we have in amateur, just to say, same as we have it in the life forces, you know, we're not saying there's one right or perfect higher power. We're saying, yeah, many different ways of relating to who we are in a universe, and what we make of our universe. Certainly, I imagine scientists who work either on the minuscule, you know, finding the smallest particles, or the cosmos and how it started and how old it is. I imagine they have a sense of a particular awareness strata that just, I'm sure there's, and again, I'm not saying it for everyone, but there's probably a particular awareness strata for astronauts who have seen the Earth from space. When you think of that, it's a bit, yeah. And they look down there and they think, okay, you know, that's where the husband, the kids, mum and dad, and my mother-in-law are. And it's just this round ball down there. That must be something. That must be something. Yeah. So that's just another repetitious, and I hope you'll bear with me, definition of what they are. High strata is where we make nourishing contributions and we feel purpose. High strata is a good place in the main. Low strata is where we're hurtful to ourselves and others. We're narrow. And in Pellin, we call that opinionation. You know, I know this is the only way to do psychotherapy. And this material would challenge that if I came on from that place. Yeah, sure.
Cynthia, did you still
Yeah,
want to say something?
I won't see that, Mary. So pick
Oh,
one
yeah.
up.
It was just something that had come to mind actually last week, and it came to mind when you were talking about awareness strata. I didn't know but anyways, since you've called on me, I guess I'll say it. One of the things in terms of the power of awareness strata in the 12-step program, part of the reason it started was Bill Wilson noticed that those who got, he had noticed people who had gotten better from alcoholism, had come off of it, were all those who had had a religious awakening, had been born again. And so he wanted to sort of create that experience without their actually, you know, without having to be narrow. So I just thought I'd throw that story in there.
No, that's sort of useful, because and that's where I think there's both mystery in awareness strata and a need for respect that is more easily seen in social strata. Because social strata is about appreciating diversity, and we all know that's a good thing, right? You know, it's more out front, but you know, as you've heard me talk before, my very large connection to Alcoholics Anonymous, but that connection is in my soul and my intellect. It's not in my emotions. You know, I didn't have, it hasn't been part of my development. I never had that problem. In the main, I was never involved with people who had that problem. So I have some sort of criticisms of the way AA uses both higher power and the concept of illness. And that's why I think, you know, AA has been around so long and so many people have gone through it and so many people have talked about it. that, you know, it's pretty easy to articulate how it works. And yet it's a mystery. Yeah. And the best of us know it's a mystery. What do some people make? Some people make it, some people don't. Like, in a sense, why do some people come back from war and some people don't because they were killed? You know, a whole lot lodges in awareness strata. We, at one time, I don't know if you can remember the numbers, Nikki. Were they sort of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5? But we put numbers on them, okay? So one's the bottom. Let's say, do you remember, Nikki, at all?
I have a feeling it was 10, but I can't be sure. Doesn't matter. Really.
I think it was 10 too.
Yeah.
No, and I think people would say something like, I've got an 8 or I got a 5. It was rather fun. That particular course that you and I ran together, I think it was a place where I made most of this, okay? And then it went to the program called Practical Psychology in the school in Michigan, high school in Michigan, where we started with a strata material. And it was pretty easy. They were bright kids and they were, you know, up to learn. But I haven't made as much of it, I guess, well, as I am now in a way, because having this different format where I can. So I think it's worthwhile. Yeah, all of the Pellin tools, if we get it right, it's I think almost necessary, the word I'm searching for, to play with, you know, treat them lightly as well as heavily or seriously. And I think that's true of all tools, or learning a language, learning a musical instrument, learning a sport. Which this learning process, I want to be the same as that. You know, sometimes it sort of has to be light. So in a light spirit, I want to, I guess, introduce putting the numbers on it. And from memory, when we use it extensively, because it's often been picked up, taught, held onto for a while, and then dropped, okay? Yeah. And I think within what, and hardly, hold up, hardly anybody has heard me say these words, because I've not used them much. Well, I haven't used them. But I think about it myself. There is something that I want to call strata analysis, which is very, very powerful. I think it's some of my sort of shyness and uncertainty, and that comes into my sort of communication and emotional strata. Even that word I just used when I first opened the program in Italy, I got quite a lot of feedback about, Peter, you're using the word sort of all the time, okay? I wouldn't just claim something. The tools work. I think I'm further along than I was then. But I think it can be sort of fun to put the numbers on. I think it's like the formality, almost formality we need when we're learning something very new, like a language or a musical or a sport.
Peter, I'm a bit confused whether you've properly explained the numbers or if I'm being dense.
No, I'm sure I haven't. And
I just thought I'd put that in because I thought there might be a lot of mystified people, everyone but you and Nikki, perhaps.
Yeah, so what the numbers were was 1 is low on the bottom, 10 is very high, and you can give yourself a number across the whole board. And I guess we'd have maybe we'd have some little points indicating. And to do that, yeah, I guess even after all these years, I've not made as much of this as I could. I really believe that. And I really believe that in terms of just the example I came up with about perseverance strata in the time of a worldwide epidemic, pandemic. Anyway, 1 is low, 10 is high, then you give yourself numbers in the middle, the gradations. And people may or may not want to do that. I'll start and demonstrate it. And coming on with a bit more confidence about it, it can be a very, very useful exercise because it brings in the other Pellin tools. And it provides something that's really quite challenging because when we're doing strata analysis, we will be bringing up many aspects of our life, or to put it another way, some aspect of our life might pop up that hasn't been around for a while. Okay, I'll go. My social strata, we should have the numbers on the diagram, shouldn't we? Anyway, 5's obviously in the middle. Yeah, my social strata, I think, is quite high. Probably 7, something like that. I have quite and given I live in England, I have quite an Australian prejudice against English public school boys and girls, as they're called here. A public school in England is a school, expensive private school for the privileged. And it's part of the class system. And not so much now, but I grew up in an Australia that was quite classless. And we Australians, a lot of Australians have trouble with the English class system. But outside of that, I get on with people across the board, and that fed my work a lot. I'll have to do this a bit quick or I'll go on too long. Okay, communication strata. Yeah, I'm pretty good on that. Again, 6, 7, 8 at times. But there are times when I'm not saying the most important thing I need to say to somebody I'm close to, whether it's work or home. Yeah, I don't quite always take the communication risks I need to take. Yeah, so I'm giving myself a 6 or 7. Emotional strata, I guess I'm still working on my work, my issues, but I'm getting somewhere with them. It's higher than it was once. It was never very bad because I had a happy childhood. but maybe that's 6 or 7 too. Evaluation strata, I want to be careful there. Sometimes it's real high and sometimes it's real low. So I think I'd average it out about 6. Accomplishment strata, that's my weak one. And I can look as I work very hard and, you know, how do you do it at your age? I mean, I get stuff like that. But I know how much I'm not doing in a way that almost nobody else does. And my stuck points and my procrastination and my wasting time. So that's really quite low, 3 or 4 at times. Perseverance strata, well, I never expected to have it, but it's really quite high because I've had to go through, particularly my divorces, the way they affect my business, you know, Pellin, even someone I was very close to, I heard said, well, the Pellin era is over, you know. Pellin's not there anymore, Peter's not there anymore. And they really came out of my divorces one way or another. And some of my bad decisions also. So that's high. And as I've said other times, I don't think, I don't sufficiently link up. So anyway, I'm saying my perseverance strata is 7 or 8. My awareness strata really is quite low. I don't spend time on it. You know, as I said to someone recently, you know, I've always been too busy to go to India and study with a guru. I feel that's an area where I really could develop, and I think not having it probably keep my life a bit flat and keep some of the others coming down. So that's putting the numbers on it, okay? And as we get further into strata analysis, if we do it over the next 2 or 3, you know, even a couple of weeks or so, you know, you can have your own strata analysis that you've done, and then you could have someone else. Well, you could have a group give you feedback on that, or you could have someone else give you their strata analysis of you. I think that's where it's very important we get the diagram clear. You know, thank you very much, Mary, for putting it up. It helps no end. But, you know, getting a professional one done.
Peter, I don't know if you can see my hand up, but I want to play, please. Can I play?
Yeah, go.
I want to play with the numbers. Okay, thanks. So, yeah, I want to preface what I'm saying with just an awareness that, you know, I'm interested in playing the game, not now, but I'm interested in playing the game of strata analysis for my young adulthood when I was first in Pellin and now. So to just do the young adulthood very briefly, everything was brought down by the pendulum, period. I was low on everything, I think. But now, after 40 years of Pellin, something's changed, one would hope. So social strata, I was thinking about what you said about values. I put in my one-woman play that although my parents didn't believe in God, they gave me the values of fairness and equality and believing, respecting everyone regardless of the color of their skin. And so that's like a really strong social strata, you know, middle to high that I was given in my memory links. And I think I'm not that aware. I think I'm held back in my social strata by a little bit the opposite of Peter, that I think I'm pretty good at respecting people from different situations, but I still have a shyness around being perceived as snobbish for my middle class background. I couldn't help from when I was in a working class school. So I think I still have a little hurdle when I'm opening my heart to people that might think, you know, might be critical of me from my background. But the goodwill's there. So I expect to get better at that. And I think that probably I'm around a 7. I don't know if that's a bit high. I think Peter probably errs in modesty and I would probably err in grandiosity. But communication strata, I think I'm, you know, maybe a 6 or a 7. In some ways it's quite high, sometimes probably 7 or 8, in that I do take communication risks. I go for getting the extra intimacy that comes from risking difficult communication. But I think I can jump to conclusions, which is probably the emotional strata coming in. I'm not sure, but I think I can make mistakes and not listen enough. So I wouldn't put it higher than, probably generally about 6, and then at times maybe when I'm doing the difficult communication, maybe a bit, maybe higher than that. Emotional strata of working on memory links and working on my pendulum, I would put that pretty high now, like maybe even high enough to have a coat of negative around the positive. Things like my pendulum control is so automatic and unconscious. You know, when I opened the parcel, I think I said this before in the forum, but when I opened the parcel with the book after 5 years of thought and project, I didn't feel any joy. I didn't feel any anticipation going to get the parcel. I just clamped down on my excitement so automatically. So that, I think my work is to undo that a bit. So I think that's about 8 with a coat of negative around it. That could be high, I don't know. Evaluation strata, I think that's a place where I think I'm quite good now at making decisions, but I think evaluation strata in my work, I can not listen enough and I can jump to conclusions. So I would say 6 or 7. I think it's higher about practical things. I think I think it really. I think I'm really good at evaluating what will be nourishing for me, and now I'm good at taking small steps. Sorry, that was accomplishment strata, but thinking of the small steps maybe becomes an evaluation. I'm not sure. So I can't remember if I gave myself a number, but I would say around 6 or 7. Accomplishment strata is like, was my really, 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 really lowest one when I was young. And I'm very proud of the progress I've made in accomplishment strata. I think I've probably put that around 7 or 8, because I'm now from, if I think of a project, this is quite new, this is recent months, I can think quite a big project, I can think, oh yeah, I think I can do that if I take the right small steps. That's pretty ambitious, but yeah. Perseverance strata, I think persevering with life when you have had an awful lot of depression during the depression, I think that's a kind of high perseverance strata that's not very enjoyable, but important. And I think that translated into my now happier and healthier life. Or persevering with John took a lot of perseverance strata, because he was difficult, my husband. So I think I'm probably around an 8 in that now. I wasn't I was like a 2 when I was young. I could be wrong about the 8. It's a little bit hard doing the higher ones. And awareness strata, I think I have, I'm hesitating about the number, but I have a very strong relationship with my higher power. And it's very central to my identity and feeling a purpose in life. So, 7 or 8 there, I would say. That's me in the present.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the process that we're doing?
Does anyone else want to play? I was thinking.
Yeah. Does anyone want to have a go?
I'll try it, but it might be a bit of a bummer.
Go for it.
Okay. So, social strata for myself, I'd put it about a 5. And it's a real mixed bag because, there's a whole lot of people from different walks of life that I have, I think, a gift for connecting with. But there's also certain groups that I'm completely out of patience with, especially over the past 4 years. American evangelicals, I sort of completely shut down towards, and that's dragging me down from what would otherwise be much higher, I think. Communication. I think I'm well-spoken, but I can also sense this wall between me and others in a variety of situations. I'd give it a 4 as of right now, because that wall that I don't even understand that came up in 2.5 years of a job search that resulted in no result is something I'm still very much working on. Emotionals at a 4, and it's a lot better than it was. I'm still at the point in working on my pendulum where I have to just clamp down and leave the room in the middle of an otherwise very ordinary conversation, not to let the high take over the conversation. But at the same time, I don't want to die anymore, and that's pretty neat. I'm skipping evaluation because I still have no idea how to address that. Accomplishment strata is 3, and I'm incredibly proud of the progress I've made there, because when I was a teenager, it was a 1, and it has been some incredible work on myself and a whole slew of gimmicks that I'm able to do what I set out to do about 1/3 of the time. I put perseverance strata at a 6, and the only reason it's not higher is because my ability and my willingness to put up with things that cause me physical pain are much lower than they used to be. But my ability to persist in a situation that is unpleasant is pretty darn good, I think. And awareness strata, C, I would think it's around a 5. Still very much a path, but I'm really on my way, and I like my relationship with my higher power, and I'm very much accepting of other people's relationship with theirs, whatever it might be. So that's me.
Okay, thank you. Does someone else want to have a turn on this? And I'll help. Or
I'll go.
okay,
I'll go.
if you, I'll be. You know, it's my material over 60, 50 plus years. Okay, so it's easy for me to run it out. If someone is doing wants to say, "Well, I don't quite understand this or that," you know, absolutely feel free.
Okay, thank you. Social strata, I'm going to say about 6. It would be a lot higher, but I think it's brought down my communication strata. I've in my life, and I don't know if it's luck or I have been in conversations and listened and been in, I mean, even a situation where I was at summer camp and I was I was like one of 2 white girls in the unit. So I've had, when I was a lawyer, I've worked from people all the way up to millionaires, to when I worked at the law firm, to people who, you know, could pay me $25 a week. And that was a month. And that was a real struggle. And, you know, so I've interacted with people with in a lot of cultures, with a lot of different ways of life, and even many different religions. But so I can relate to them to that extent. But in my communication strata, I'd put probably about a 3. At times it's higher when I'm staying completely intellectual, but I have a lot of insecurities about communication, and I find myself, in terms of, you know, feedback I hear a lot of times when I'll say something, what I hear back, what it sounds like somebody has understood, is not what I was trying to communicate. And since this happens a lot, it's probably not the other person, it's probably that I'm not able to get my thoughts across well. So that I'll put at a 3, but I'm working on it. I mean, that's something I've been working on. And in fact, studying Japanese has actually helped, because I was, you know, at a 0 in Japanese because I had to learn the language from scratch. So getting past some of the, you know, one of the things that helped was I had to get past some early stuff where my mentor actually made me talk. And if you can't talk in Japanese, you can't talk. And that actually got over not only my hurdles in Japanese, but some of my hurdles to communication in English. So my emotional, I think, has risen. I had some experiences about a year ago that was pretty dramatic, and it moved from, maybe I would say, about a 2 to maybe about a 5 or 6 now. You know, before, there was no way I could have controlled my pendulum, but I can now. I mean, it's you know, but I still have, you know, in terms of, and I think that plays into my communication strata. I still have, you know, I still have some trauma. I still have some issues. Particularly, I think that my issues around communication are linked to my issues in the emotional strata. Evaluation, you know, it's hard to put a number overall, because I think there's some things I would say I would probably judge myself an 8 or 9 on evaluation, and some things I'd go down to like a 1 or 2, particularly with regard to decisions about my physical health, and that kind of thing. I've made and I'm still making some bad decisions about that, but that may tie into the emotional. But I also have had jobs, you know, being a lawyer and actually being an astrologer, where, you know, a lot of that is work with helping people with their evaluation strata. And I think I can do that in terms of goals. Like I can, you know, I can set goals kind of and do that. But like I said, there's some things I make bad decisions. But of course, I know I'm making bad decisions. So I don't know how that that falls. You know, I don't know how that works in evaluation strata. It's not like I'm making a bad decision and I think I'm making a good decision. I'm making a bad decision. I'm like, yeah, this is a really bad decision, and I just do it anyways. Accomplishment strata. Well, see that depends. You know, I've been frustrated lately. I don't think I mean, I think I do get a bunch accomplished, but I don't get as much accomplished as I would like. Some of it's because of physical limitations. Some of it may be tied to evaluation. I set myself my goals as too much. You know, I set a huge thing of goals, but then I can kind of say, okay, well, today this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. What's going to happen today? I'm not always, so I'd say maybe 5, 6, depending. I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to say. It's hard to say because I could say, okay, I'm good at this. It's 6 on this, but yeah, but then I'm a 1 on that. You know, like house cleaning, I'd probably say I'd at a 2. You know, in terms of getting writing, I would say maybe 7. So perseverance, I've been told I have a high perseverance strata. You know, I don't know. I think I can see that, but I think it has to relate more to my awareness strata. I mean, I think you know, I've gotten through some tough stuff, and you know, and I can have a stubbornness, which may relate to the whole thing between evaluation and perseverance. You know, if I have decided I am going to do something, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get it done. If I have really made a firm decision, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it come hell or high water. But, you know, I don't always make that kind of decision, and I do, you know, so I don't know. Awareness strata, that one I'd rate myself pretty high on. I think that, you know, I mean, I have ideas about what my higher power is, but it's not, I feel close. I mean, I've heard people talk about not feeling connected. I don't think I can ever think of a time in my life where I haven't felt connection. Sometimes I've been mad at my connection, but I've never felt like the connection wasn't there. It's not a rigid connection. I mean, I have a firm ideas, and I have, you know, and I do have a religion uh, that I subscribe to, but it's also kind of flexible. So I would probably say about 8. And you know, and I think, you know, like I said, in terms of perseverance strata, I think particularly when I persevered on nourishing things, it's always been because I felt like I had support outside of myself, that I wasn't even when I felt like I was alone on the physical plane. I've never felt like I didn't have spiritual support. So um, so I guess that's it. I don't know if I did that right, but that's my attempt.
I think there's something nice about this, that there's not a right and wrong way. Yeah, I think that's true. And it's tools, you know, so it's, are we using it with some skill for ourselves and others? Yeah. Anyone else? I can't see anybody because the thing's up, the diagram. Does anyone else want to have a turn?
Just to say, Peter, I can only see some of the people either. So
Yeah.
I guess we just have to ask people to unmute themselves if they want to participate in this. And it's about playing, so you don't have to play unless you want to.
Can I just say that I can see everybody and that nobody has their hand up or is indicating.
Oh, okay.
And I'm choosing not to, because I think I would like to reflect on this before I speak.
No, absolutely.
Particularly because I'm old and I can talk about the strata in relation to today, but if I'm reflecting over the whole of my life, as some of you are, I think I need to take bloody ages to
yeah,
actually.
I want to make it available if anyone wants to take a turn, but no pressure. Okay.
I've got a comment to make.
Yeah.
About me.
Yeah.
I'm just struck by the irony of this. That if you were going to call it and ask me, I was thinking, oh no, I can't answer today because I'm a bit distracted about also, listening to you whilst also trying to find a central heating engineer. Right.
that's called cheating. Okay.
But
I don't know where cheating. I don't know where cheating fits into Strata. Okay.
No, but I've got a connection because what I was thinking of saying was, I can't think about any of the others today, but the one I'm really sure of is that I'm still definitely way lowest on accomplishment strata. And I thought, well, how ironic. The reason I can't think about the others today is because I'm actually trying to accomplish something in the material world at the same time. The very thing I'm lowest on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you for bearing with me. I'll mute myself again now.
I think that's your perseverance strata, Nikki.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, sorry.
I just, to reply, I muted and unmuted and whichever it is anyway, to reply to Mary, thanks for that, that's right, high perseverance strata,
Yeah.
even though about something that I find really difficult, and but sometimes things have to be done, don't they, on a Sunday evening, doesn't matter when. Yeah, thank you, I'll mute myself again now, thanks.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, Peter, I was wondering whether to say this because I haven't said anything to Nikki, because I was thinking that it could be valuable to extend this, or questions, it doesn't matter, into Wednesday's Peter Fleming Forum, which is the one Nikki and I take this coming Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely, Mary, absolutely. Yeah,
so
I
if,
would
if somebody's not feeling quite ready or something, we can start with the not readiness before,
yeah,
whether
and
or not
I
someone's
wouldn't
or
want anyone to feel any pressure to, take part in this exercise. I wanted to present the exercise and then demonstrate it, and Mary and then Elizabeth coming in. Thank you. Because
and Cynthia.
Yeah, and Cynthia. Because well, I'm ambitious about this part of the material. I guess that's a simple way to put it. It can work.
Peter, can I just request to stop sharing the screen now? I'm kind of missing seeing people properly.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
I stop and share? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to come in, please?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for me, rather than looking at that at my overall, where I am on that, it would help me more in specific situations, like communication. Let's say in this particular group or this particular situation, what are my communication skills that I need for this group, which may be different than just my general communication. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of it as, let's say I'm getting ready. I don't have the little things there, but the little bars there. But
Oh, I can hold it up.
okay.
There.
But
Is that readable?
yeah.
It's a bit close, so you're showing the first four. I don't know which ones Cecil
How's
to
that?
talk about.
So yeah.
That's better.
So so I can think of some situations where if I had to repeat them, I would have worked more on some of those areas than others before I started in on it. I'm thinking of some leadership positions and some talk position where I was going to do a talk, or where I had a whole, especially going into a new situation. I'm thinking of, could you show that thing again real quick?
Yeah, sorry.
Um, so some things like, oh, okay. This would be really helpful when if I was going into a new situation. Like, I think I've mentioned I'm in a playback theater troupe. So, so looking at what I would need for that would be especially the perseverance and not give up when I wasn't doing so hot the first few times, or to being able to let go if I didn't do well, because it can be tough, and it's kind of like, that's fine. So I would see it more in a, what do I need to do for this new situation I might think about, and or giving a speech, or I'm also in a jam group that we haven't met for a long time because of COVID, but there is a risk you take when you go there, because you'll be playing and then all of a sudden, okay, cease, and you got to play something there. So you have some kind of nerve there to go ahead and just trusting whatever you've got, that it's going to come out then. And if it doesn't, you're among friends. So so I like looking at that for individual situations for myself, rather than as a collective, because I'm all over the place depending on the situation.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And as I said, it's a tool, and doing the numbers and going through the whole thing is just one particular way of using this tool. Another way is, because coming off what you were saying, Cease, when which I often am in through a long career, a really tough situation, something I've worked hard for is not working out, or it's going down the wally, going south. And I think at that time, I draw unconsciously on my perseverance strata. But if I was more direct with myself about it, because I go through a whole lot of pendulum swings, right? I mean, I've got memory links when I said my emotional strata can be really triggered off by my work not being recognized, okay? And particularly someone sliding it. Long, whole lot of memory links there. We'd probably go back all the way to, being the smallest kid in the class. Because one of the things I want to do something is a digression, a total digression. But one of the things I want to do is find a way, and again, not unannounced, not pulling any sort of surprise, but find a way we can all stand up and walk around, because we see faces, right? I am really short. And someone said to me recently, oh, I didn't think that, but all they'd seen in my face on Zoom. Anyway, that total aside, bringing that in here, I guess it is something about communication strata and social strata that's about, I mean, I've never been in this position, but, you know, yeah, the person who's black arrives somewhere and someone says, I didn't think you were black. You know, I've never been through that, but I am now in this situation where someone will say, oh, I didn't think you were short. So, and that's something about, because we communicate with our whole person, and here we're just communicating with our face. That's different. So it's sort of putting in the connections, okay? Like being able to draw on, okay, I've got this new session. It can feel a little cumbersome, but I think it's all right. But I'm tough, you know. I've got to persevere in Strata. I do, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the things I've gone through. Okay, so I've got this draggy person who, in terms of my work, wants to reject me and the work. I can sit that out. You know, I can go through it. I can go through someone saying no to me. And maybe one of the uses of and then how that would affect my communication strata. Because if I don't claim my perseverance strata in my communication strata, I'll come across way too needy. And bringing in the other tools, I'll be coming in way too much from my caring life force, which is emotional strata. And what I need to be communicating from my perseverance strata, you know, this is work that's been around a long time. And hey, you know, we're pretty proud of it. And then I think that also goes into social strata.
Peter, I have a question, if I might.
Yeah.
So I found myself, when I was listening to you, thinking about times when you've said to me, you know, don't worry about this or that emotional thing. Getting the thing done is material life force. Say my struggles around being a student when I was getting my qualification license as someone with experience that wasn't recognized. You know, you'd say, just go for the material life force. And that reminded me that, sorry, just to be clear, go for the material life force meant get the license, don't worry too much about the emotional side of it. Go for the authority. So it reminded me that I was thinking during the week, how do the life forces reflect against the strata? Because I find both strata and life forces like incredibly useful for understanding other people as well as myself. And it's not, I mean, is it in a different toolkit, if you know what I mean?
Well, claiming my high communication strata, my answer is with great fun, okay? Because they really fit together well. I mean, just one quickly, okay? Accomplishment strata is really lined up with a material life force, okay? Just really, you know, the checklist, being organized, being able to put hands on a piece of paper when you need it, not stressed because you don't know if the bank account's running overdraft or not. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of accomplishment strata, and the energy, practical energy that people who have a really good accomplishment strata. You know, it's the people who, and I can be there at times. You know, the more I do, the more I can do. It's times when I'm not doing very much, or there's not much around, that I get stuck. So, and another one, yeah, it's the caring light force is all located for better and worse, almost in sickness and in health, in good old emotional strata. You know, it's sort of your mother's language, Mary. And
Joe's trying to say something, Peter.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
Joe.
question.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mary. It's sort of echoing Mary's question, really, Peter. It feels to me it would really help if you could tell me visually how the forces interact with these bars. Do they sort of push through and bend the bars aside?
Well, I would see
what
them.
do they do?
No, that it's not quite like that. It's not quite like building a theory, and this is a whole lot of philosophical stuff I don't want to go into now. But it's been thought through a lot. It's not like trying to have a theory that's got to all fit together. It's having tools that can come in and, okay, I can use that tool for there, I can use that tool for there. And then if I've got that task and I'm using that tool, I can also bring in this other tool. Because if someone is, and certainly true of me, if someone's having trouble with their accomplishment strata, then the tool to bring in, the basic tool to bring in there is the triangle accepted and rejected efforts. But the other tool to bring in there is performance life force. And this is where they can fit together with fun. Bring in performance life force, almost a combination of performance life force and, for me, perseverance strata, because that's the tough guy who'll stick it out. And then sort of going with something. So it's almost, I think it's the tools interconnecting.
Peter, I don't know when's a good point, but Cynthia's trying to say something.
Yeah, sure, Cynthia.
I wonder, one thing that flashed through my head about like where the life forces may live, I was just, at least in part, they might also live in evaluation strata, because I was thinking about I mean, we all have a natural one that we go for, but just even making the decision, what life force do we use in a particular situation might be part of evaluation strata. I don't know, that just flashed in my head, so that's why I came in.
Yeah, I saw a news clip of, I think it's fairly recent, of Michelle Obama surprising a group of high school girls, okay, and their reaction to her. And in terms of sort of strata, there's a real almost direct combination of her social strata and emotional strata. I mean, she'll go in there, and she claims it the way she walks and stands, of, having the stature, but then she finds a way to connect to them emotionally at the same time. I mean, she's a really good example of this stuff. And her sort of, there's almost a, so the methodology, I'll come back to that. The methodology is using the tools in a situation. I think with Strata, very much using them in a situation. But when she comes up with, I hate politics, well, she's supporting her husband, her husband, Buddy, politically, she's come up and said, I hate politics. That's a particular astute combination, I think, of evaluation strata and perseverance strata. Okay, I persevered through it, you know, I had to do it. And I'm glad for him, you know, I love him and he's my husband, but it wouldn't have been my choice. Almost says that. That, you know, it's a particular sort of thing. And I think if she couldn't show, that's also emotional strata, you know, showing something, a bit of transparency. Because really high evaluation strata can be very cold. Well, her husband's a bit cold. You know, I communicate well, I've been the president, look at me, I look good, I'm fit. You know, how can you relate to this guy? You know, I'm struggling. I'm short, okay? So, you know, there's something about the strata material that because of the way the material's developed, the way I've developed it, the way David authored it, it's very sophisticated. You know, because you can see all the top ones, all of them, have a code of negative around the positive. That's another, an aside, another diagram we need to get going, Mary.
Can I just say something that popped in right in the beginning when you mentioned perseverance strata? And I was thinking about, wow, you know, I'm Joe Biden and I've tried 3 times to be president and I miserably failed. And it looked like I was not going to get the primary nomination, you know, in the beginning of the primary race. And that, wow, you know, what must that feel like to have that incredible perseverance strata? You actually make it, and you make it with like a huge margin in the vote. And then you're faced with someone that doesn't want to acknowledge you've made it. And he stays courteous and he stays caring and he stays on message about wanting to be the president of all America, even though, you know, much as I agree with a lot of the progressive qualities, they don't evaluate that as very noteworthy, that I don't think that he wants to bridge a gap that everyone says you can't bridge. And so on. I mean, and he's going to have the hardest administration because of COVID and the delay in transition. And if the Democrats don't win the Senate, which they might not, he's going to have a really tough time, and he's going to persevere through it with grace and humility.
It's perseverance strata. It's a good illustration of perseverance strata. And it's also bringing in the other tools, because I know we've got to stop in a moment. It's the pendulum's there. I mean, he gets high, he starts to stutter, and he says something stupid. You know, he makes one of these gaffes, which are almost, you know, it's a psychological condition. You know, he just makes these gaffes, you know.
Hasn't he got better at that recently, though?
Oh, he's got hugely, he got hugely better. I mean, it's a secret. So I don't want anyone to take it publicly, but I've taught him the pendulum, okay?
And the strata.
I've taught Joe Biden the pendulum and passive listening.
Cece's trying to say something, Peter.
I had just this image as we were talking about the different strata of a toolbox, almost like, and you could be working with somebody and let them pick out the tool they thought, you know, they wanted to work on for that particular situation. So for some, it could be communication. For somebody else, it could be the social skills they would need for that, you know, they're going to a job interview, let's say. So, so I was just thinking it'd be really cool to have those as like little tools that people can hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right about that. Because see,
Right.
we've got that
Yes.
in this,
Right.
right? And I think, and particularly failed to do it, but particularly come up with something, particularly for the kids. Because I can give this to the kids and teach them. And the parallel I draw, because people say, oh, you can't teach children, you know, sophisticated psychological material. And the parallel I draw there is counting games for little ones, so they get into math, and Sunday school for little ones, where they go, they get a picture to take home, and they get a story. But you got to have something like this. You're right. You got to have something they can play with. I'm surprised to use that word twice in this session, but yeah. And I think you're right. We need to keep developing this so we've got something simple. And because just to give you some example, a quick example, working with clients, you know, one of the ways I use this, and I'm thinking of someone in particular who things were pretty awful for and couldn't see a way through, although he was doing quite well in life, but, you know, didn't have a relationship, very good job, but couldn't quite be happy and couldn't. And I felt it was really important for him to develop some awareness strata, okay? So he went to a Buddhist center in London. And it worked. It worked just getting into that different world, because all the stuff around the emotional strata, all the therapy stuff, sort of seems to be going, you know, round and round the mulberry bush, you know, seems to be just almost feeding on itself. So, you know, that's a place where I use this material and say, okay, you know, pursue this, pursue something outside yourself. Paul Goodman, a very well-known writer in America, not very well-known here, of another time. And one of the original people with Fritz Perls, he was one of the authors of the book called, the big textbook called Gestalt Therapy. And he was more a philosopher than a psychologist. And he had a point of view, if all the therapy fails, try a little philosophy, okay? And there's just something about that is really saying, hey, sometimes we need awareness strata. And nothing else is going to work. Just the same, sometimes we'll need social strata, we'll need to go back to our roots, and nothing else works. Well, I hope today was okay. I know I talked a lot and demonstrated a lot, but given that this, as Cease said, is a toolbox, therefore it can be a point of revision. So I think we can stay with it for a while, okay? Yeah, we can really stay with it for a while. Just to give a couple of quick examples. If someone's everything's flat, everything's hopeless, awareness strata and taking some risks around awareness strata. Might sort of be everything. And that needs a bit of performance life force, okay? You need confidence in ourselves, confidence in trying a new path, confidence in trying something really different of a spiritual nature or of a literary nature is really performance life force. We're not going to get there from caring life force. Caring life force will have lots of support, the embarrassing way, and I'm an example of it. You know, lots of support, talk about it a lot, look at the issues, but not quite take the risk. I'm going to go to that church and see what's in it for me. That's performance life force. That's risks of performance life force. So that was just one little connection I wanted to put in. We've got to stop there. I'll see you next Sunday. Mary and Nikki will see you Wednesday. I'd like to stay with this material for a little more.
Peter, there's,
yeah.
if I may just say, Wednesday will be me and Nikki, but the Wednesday after, some of us will be in virtual Pellin, Italy, and there won't be a Wednesday meeting in 2 weeks, but both Sundays will happen.
Yeah, okay.
I'll put it in the newsletter as well, but ouch, sorry, my knee.
No.
Not everybody reads it, so I just wanted to say it verbally as well.
Okay. So no group 8-week Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, there's a doggy, look.
Okay, well, finishing up there, and I'm Peter, and I'm in Norfolk in England. Elizabeth?
I'm Elizabeth. I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Cynthia?
I'm Cynthia. I'm in Kankakee, Illinois.
Joe?
I'm Jo. I'm in Yorkshire, England.
Tamara?
I'm Tamara. I'm in San Francisco, California.
Okay. Nikki?
I'm Nikki. I'm in Wimbledon, London, and this has been helpful in an unusual way because it's connected up in my emotional strata to have the company to be able to do this tedious stuff in the other world. Yeah. So I'm currently communicating with a heating engineer at the same time as well now.
That's communication strata. Thank you. Mary?
Thank you.
I'm Mary. I'm in Rosarito Beach, Mexico, and I will stay on for a few minutes if anybody wants to do any organizational stuff about Virgin Pen initially too, or just chat for a moment.
Okay.
Always welcome.
Thank you all very, very much for coming.
And Cease.
Sorry, Cease.
And Mary, I would like to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Again, thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you.
Did you get forgotten, Cynthia?
Pardon?
Or you just saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe
I was just waving goodbye. No, I was just waving goodbye. Bye-bye. Let me come